Hi everybody, I just want to say another big well done for your maths yesterday. It's great to see all the things that you've remembered from before the holiday for add and take away. I was really proud of your maths. We're moving on today in maths to think about one of my favourite things. We're thinking about fractions. Now fractions can be really tricky if you don't think about them in the right way. Normally, when I'm teaching about fractions, I bring in a big bar of chocolate so everybody can understand exactly what a fraction is. Unfortunately, I've got nobody here to share my big bar of chocolate with, so I'll have to have it all to myself. What is a fraction? Well, in its easiest way, a fraction is a part of something. So I could break off a little piece of chocolate, or I could snap off a bigger piece of chocolate. Those would be fractions of the chocolate bar. If I went to Agnello's or Jolly's or Nomad's and I said, could I have a pizza please? And I cut it into slices. One of those slices is a fraction of the pizza. If I took two of those slices, that would be a fraction of the pizza. If I went to Jazzy Bakery or Coco's and I ordered a cake, going to have a nice big rectangular cake, cut it again into chunks. One piece of that cake is a fraction. If I take a large piece of that cake, it's still a fraction. It's a bigger fraction than just a small piece, but it is still a fraction. So a fraction is a part of something. We can have part of a shape. Here is a fraction coloured in. Part of the shape is coloured in. Or a group of objects, so it could be a bag of sweets or a tray of chips, and I've taken part of that group away. So this is a fraction, this is also a fraction. This one coloured in is a fraction, but the ones not coloured in are also a fraction. They're part of the whole thing. Today, we're concentrating on equal parts. So we want to make sure that we're being fair. Imagine that this is my piece of chocolate. And I'm going to share it with Miss Njani. She can have the red piece, and I can have the blue piece. She has the red piece, I have the blue piece. Do you think that's fair? Are they the same? Do we have equal parts? No, so we are not looking for fractions today that don't have equal parts. Today we're looking for fractions with two equal parts that should look a bit like this. The red fraction is the same as the blue fraction. The red part is equal to the blue part. When we're looking at our fractions today, the parts must be equal. Let's have a look at some examples. Here are three shapes, and with my straight line drawer, you might need to use a ruler. I can split them into equal parts. Now with a circle, it's nice and straightforward. We can just go straight down the middle with a circle, and I've got two equal parts. If this was a pizza, I've cut straight down the middle. I've got one piece, Miss Njani's got the other piece, and they are equal. With a square, you can go straight down the middle again. I'm going to go straight across this time. This is the cake from Coco's. I've cut it straight down the middle to make two equal parts. Triangles are a bit tricky. Sometimes with triangles, you have to turn the page or move your head around to see if your parts really are equal. This one, I can see straight away if I do exactly the same thing, straight down the middle, I've got two equal parts. Need to work on my straight line drawing. Straight down the middle, there we go, and I've got two equal parts. This could be one slice of pizza that you have to share with your brother or sister. So you cut it straight down the middle into two equal parts. You each get a fraction of the slice of the pizza. Now, we have done a little bit of learning about fractions before, but it can be tricky, so we're just going to have another look at it. Okay, one of my favourite shapes is a square for a number of reasons. But when it comes to fractions, this is one of the main reasons I like squares, because you can split squares into two equal parts in lots of different ways. I wonder if you pause the video now, can you think about how you could split these into two equal parts in lots of different ways? Have a think to yourself before I have a go. Well, we've seen one already. I cut it straight across. And I'm going to check. See, I'm turning my head. I find it easier to look this way. I'm going to check those look the same. Yeah, I could even count the squares. That would help me find out that this one has 8 squares and this one has 8 squares. How lucky we are that you've got squares in your maths book too. Another way of splitting it into two equal parts is straight down. I'm going to check again. Yeah, looks like two equal parts to me. Slightly trickier way of splitting them into two equal parts this time. One straight line, no wiggly lines, no boxes. One straight line. I create two triangles, two equal parts. I split this fraction into two, or this square, into two equal parts. If I can do it this way, can you spot another way? I can start in this corner and go down here. 4 different ways to split this square into two equal parts. I really like squares. Now, there'll be some shapes today that I ask you to split in half that are pretty tricky. You might have to turn the shape, or you might have to draw a diagonal line from corner to corner, not just straight through the middle. I spoke earlier about triangles and how they can be tricky. Do you think this has been split into two equal parts? Yes? No? What was my advice earlier with triangles? If you're not sure about it, turn the page or turn your head. Now, I can't turn this page, and it's a bit big for me to turn my head, but I'm lucky because I can turn the shape. Who thinks it is split into two equal parts? Turn it round. And now that it's this way up, I find it much easier to spot. Yeah, that has been split into two equal parts. When it was this way, or the other way, it's much harder for me to see that those two parts are equal. So I turn the page, or I turn my head to check, and I can see that this has been split into two equal parts. Okay, this is going to help you with challenge 1. I want you to pause the video in a moment and decide which shape is the odd one out. Is it shape number 1, shape number 2, or shape number 3? They each have fractions, but which one is the odd one out? Pause the video and decide now. Right. This one has been split into two equal parts. I can see that by counting the boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Equal parts. This one here has been split into two equal parts. If I can't see it straight away, I can count the boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Two equal parts. This one here, on the other hand, 1, 2, this side, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This has not been split into two equal parts. So this one here is the odd one out. Number 3 has made a mistake. Have a look at this example. Who made a mistake? 1, 2, or 3? Splitting into two equal parts. A fraction where both parts are the same. Who has made a mistake? Now, you could count the squares to help you, or you might be lucky to just spot it straight away. These ones are a bit tricky with the corner-to-corner diagonal line, but I think it's obvious that number 1 has made the mistake. That's not 2 equal parts. This part here is bigger than this part here. So it's not equal parts. This one made the mistake. Here is your challenge 1. On your class stories, on Class Dojo, you've got something called Maths, or Tuesday the 21st of April, Maths 1, where it's lots and lots of names. They're from the school who wrote to us earlier this year, Pencoed Primary. The children in that school have made a mistake in their learning. I want you to write down the names of the children who have made a mistake. Are they equal parts or not? An example would be number 1. Was it A? It's A. An example would be A. The person that made the mistake was Boris. And that's what it would look like in your book. His name isn't Boris in your example. Once you've decided for A, you move on to B. There are 3 shapes to look at, just like we've done here. You decide who's made the mistake, and you can write their name. Edgar. For example, Edgar made the mistake, so I write Edgar's name down in my maths book. When you've finished it, take a picture, put it on your portfolio. But we haven't finished there. So once you've done that, come back and I'll explain challenge 2. You can pause the video now, go back onto Class Dojo and complete challenge 1. Come back and see me for challenge 2 when you've finished. Okay, well done on challenge 1. I hope that everybody has finished it by now. Don't move on to challenge 2 until you finish challenge 1. Challenge 2. If you have a printer, you can print off challenge 2. If you don't have a printer, don't worry, I have another suggestion for you. Your job is to use one straight line to split these shapes into 2 equal parts. So your fractions for challenge 2, one straight line, making 2 equal parts. I can see this square. If I've got a printer, I just get my ruler or a straight edge and I split it into 2 equal parts. 2 equal parts, one straight line. This one here, I'm going to go a bit different. I'll do 2 equal parts. Works just fine with rectangles. Other shapes, like this one, not so easy. How could I do it? I mean, if I was folding it, how could I fold it in half? You've got an example that looks like this today. I'll be really interested to see how you split it into 2 equal parts using one straight line. Now, if you don't have a printer, that's fine. It might take you a little bit longer, but you have to use the square paper in your maths book to draw these shapes. And the best way to do that is to count the squares really, really carefully. So you look at the lines of the shapes. Oh, that's 2 squares down, 2 squares across. And with a ruler and a pencil, 2 squares down, 2 squares across, using the lines on your page to help you. Triangles are a bit trickier, but I always start with the base, 2 squares across, and then this middle point up here, this corner, is 1, 2, 3 squares up. So I can put a little dot there, and then connect these 2 lines. Squares and rectangles, much easier. 3 squares down, 4 squares across in my maths book. 3 squares down, 4 squares across. Shapes like this, just break them down into the lines that you can see. 2 down, 4 across. 2 across, 2 up, 2 across, and 4 down. Then when you've drawn them, that's when you can come along and split them with one straight line. Now, to make it really clear to me today, what I would like you to do when you've done your one straight line is to shade in one fraction. Split it into 2 equal parts, shade in or colour in one part. Doesn't matter which one you do. And that's challenge 2. Have a look on your class stories for challenge 2. Print it off if you can, but if you can't, try and draw these shapes in your book. That's it from me today for maths. We'll be thinking more about equal parts tomorrow and the rest of the week. Super, super important. We can understand that before we move on to the rest of our fractions learning. Good luck, everyone.